It's Ramadan.
The time has just gone 14 minutes past 4 p.m. Central African time, and right now on the afternoon beat, we're about to catch a wave of inspiration with an extraordinary guest. Meet Dr. Roxy Davis, a 9-time South African surfing champion. Some have described her as a visionary entrepreneur, an advocate for social impact. Just last year, she earned her PhD in health and rehabilitation sciences from the University of Cape Town with a focus on ocean based therapy. Now a doctor of philosophy, she's turned her passion for the ocean into a lifeline for kids with disabilities here in South Africa. I came across her article, Surf Therapy for Children with Disabilities, how it's changing lives in South Africa. And this has me hooked. Today, she's here to share how riding waves is rewriting stories one splash at a time. Good afternoon, Dr. Davis. Thank you so much for joining us on Salam Media.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Quite an incredible bio, I must say. Tell us how this all began. Splashing, riding the waves, surfing. What's going on here?
Well, I really firstly love what you've said because it's riding waves, changing lives. It's really well put because we use ocean-based activity to impact lives of persons with disabilities in South Africa. And essentially how it had all started, the ocean is my place, it's my safe space, it's my place where I find the most peace and inspiration at the same time. And about 25 years ago, I started a surf school in Muizenberg, Cape Town, and the focus was for young girls to empower, to uplift, to make them, just encourage them to believe that they can do something more than they had realized. And in 2016, a friend of mine is his 2 times world champion, Ant Smythe. He came back to South Africa and said, there is this movement called surf therapy, and it's happening around the world. We're not really getting to it. We're not doing it justice. And that's when I realized, we essentially are delivering, surfing and surf lessons to so many different people, but I had not actually observed or seen the lack or what we were not doing. And then I realized we were not delivering ocean-based therapy or any surfing to persons with disabilities, and that's essentially how it started.
But what sparked that realization, that surfing, and surfing in particular, could transform lives for kids with disabilities?
Well, in 2010 was the first documented research that actually showcased an impact on ocean-based therapy for the various different individuals who benefit from ocean-based therapy, not just persons with disabilities. And that was the very first research that was documented. And what had happened between 2010 and 2020 was there were only 23 research papers that had come out in that time. And when I looked a little deeper into it, I realized what we've been doing, we know what we've been doing has impact, but to actually show the evidence-based best practice principles and say, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and this is what the impact is. So when we went into the research in 2020, we had no idea what the outcomes were going to be. We knew that there was this ripple of change that happens, and you mentioned it, at personal level, at school level, at community level. We just didn't understand exactly what that would look like. And South Africans, we're so good at storytelling. So I'm very much about the qualitative data. Let the story of those people tell themselves, they tell the story. So a lot of the research is around first-person storytelling over the course of a year's journey with a number of different participants.
And then you ended up with a foundation, the Roxy Davis Foundation. Tell us about that.
Well, as I mentioned, it was 25 years ago, I started a business called Surf Emporium on Muizenberg Beach. But when Ant came to me, we decided that we needed to set up a non-profit organization that is specifically that, not for profit. It is available to anybody in South Africa that has a disability that wants to participate. So in 2016, we decided to start this movement of, creating ocean-based therapy experiences. We called it adaptive surfing. So you're adapting the surfing experience, and it later moved to what we now know as surf therapy, which includes volunteers, mental health practitioners, physiotherapists, occupational therapists. And by 2019, we had an official nonprofit, so an NPO, NPC with PBO formed in 2019. So we've been officially going since 2019, but unofficially since 2016.
Mm. I mean, when we from for I want to say an outsider from an outsider's perspective, we look at people hitting the waves quite early in the morning, sometimes in winter, and we're like, wow, okay, these people must have such determination and passion for this that they ready to brave the waves in the cold at this early hour. But I suppose for people who actually do enjoy surfing, it's much deeper than that. It's something different. It gives them some sort of purpose. But when we're speaking specifically about surf therapy, what exactly are we talking about here?
Well, what you'd said, I mean, in the context of surf therapy, which is why I'm sort of mentioning or leaning more to the word ocean-based therapy, is surfing is the tool or the hook that we're using, which is the surfing experience. But it's so much more than that. We have volunteers, we have community, we have nutrition involved, we have equipment support, we have all these different elements that come into play. Even the simple thing of being able to get out of your home and go down to the beach and spend the day at the beach, have a conversation with somebody, enjoy a cup of coffee. So sometimes, and what we've realized more and more is that the therapy comes out of the whole of the experience. And yes, some may go on to compete in the world championships, and some may, just actually have a little dip at the water's edge, and that is their significant moment. So it starts a surf therapy session starts with the arrival, like actually getting down to the beach. Once we've got our participants down to the beach, we feel like, yes, like that's a big milestone or a big barrier that we've overcome.
And
And
these individuals come from a variety of backgrounds, right?
yeah, I would say over 70% of our participants come from under-resourced communities. We've managed to unlock support with partnerships with taxi services and sponsorships with the funding to actually get participants to the beach. A number of years ago when we started, we it was almost swung the other way, where only those who had the access or who had the funds to get themselves to the beach could experience this ocean-based therapy. And we were really scratching our heads saying, why are the stats looking like this? And that's when we said, okay, we need to unlock this barrier. We need to make surfing accessible. Some participants, live only a kilometer away, yet they've never touched the ocean before. And that's that sort of realization that, I come from maybe a place of privilege where I can just walk down to the beach, put on my wetsuit, go for a surf, and there's my therapy. But for many, that access is just not there, or they don't believe it's there. So the one is getting them to the beach, and the second is actually to hear about it. There is this thing called surf therapy. It is at Muizenberg Beach. You can participate, and there is no cost to it. So those were the two big barriers that we've sort of overcome. But then once you get down to the beach, you participate in what we call a surface circle. So you get to know your team, you get to engage with them, you have a plan of action for your beach session, a plan of action for your surfing session. And obviously not everything goes to plan. So we're learning to master the art of adaptability and adapt as we go. And some people's expectations are different, or their plan or their program is slightly different. And they have a surf session in the ocean. It might be 20 minutes, it might be an hour, depending on how long they can last, depending on whether they can regulate their own body temperature. And then they'll come out and they'll do a final closure or wrap up at the end of the session with a bit of a reflection. And then they can enjoy, a warm meal, a hot cup of coffee, some really good conversation, and an afternoon at the beach.
Well, Dr. Davis, I think listeners of this show might be familiar by now. The fact that I grew up in Durban, so the ocean was right there. In fact, very close to the ocean. It was just about 300 meters away or so. And at the time, my cousins used to go for surf therapy. Well, no, that's incorrect. Not surf therapy, but they used to go for surfing lessons. And I think my parents did tried to get me to attend those, but I was for some reason stubborn. Now, fast forward a few years later, I'm in Johannesburg, so there's no ocean, but now I think it's somehow more appealing to try to hit the waves. But for someone who's sitting at home right now and wondering, oh, well, it's just surfing, what's so deep about that? What do you have to say to them? I mean, what does surfing actually offer ordinary people?
Well, there's two things to your question. There is firstly, surfing is in nature, so you're doing a physical activity while you're in nature. Surfing itself, you're forced to be put into a state of flow, because if you're unwilling, you're going to fall. So it is the most beautiful space. The way I could describe it is you can be on your own and you can be at peace. For me, the silence, that carved out space or that silence is where my thoughts become more clear. And on the other side, I can also surf as part of my community. So my son and I can surf together. We enjoy the waves together, and there is a special bond through the love of the ocean that we can share. Then, I mean, he made a remark not too long ago to say, like, Mom, when I'm in the water, I just have so many friends. And that is people across all ages, all demographics. And he just feels at home and he feels like he has a tribe. And then you go on to being able to compete. So you can compete individually, as a sport, which is also a part of therapy, or you can compete as a team. So surfing has these so many different elements and it ticks so many boxes. And you're getting the benefit of physical activity, being in a flow space, being on your own, having that peace and quiet. You can't take your cell phone there. You can't take your laptop there. There's no
Mm.
email in the ocean. And it's a forced space that you can just be at peace. So that's what surfing does, the surfing component on its own. But what in surf therapy, you've got somebody can come just for an adapted surfing lesson. So if you just wanted to come down to the beach and you're maybe an amputee and you don't want the therapeutic intervention side of it, you can literally either adapt yourself, with an adapted prosthetic, or you can adapt your equipment. So your maybe the top of the board is dug out or there's handles. So you can actually adapt what your equipment or yourself. The therapy side, I think, is more, the conversations, the engagement, the fact that these volunteers are gifting their time to be present, to show up, to love, to be kind. And the gift of time is so precious. They will never get it back, but they are gifting it because they know it's going to make change in somebody's life. Somebody cares enough for somebody else to serve. And often the little things like being able to service your wheelchair. I mean, we had the team from Shona Equip come down for International Wheelchair Day, and they were providing free wheelchair services to our participants or any beachgoers that had a wheelchair. I mean, to have access to those types of services are nearly impossible for a wheelchair user. Um, and then just statistically, I mean, 16% globally, people are living with a disability of some form. In South Africa, 4% of schools are accessible for persons with disabilities, while 70% of children actually don't go to school, 70% of children who have a disability. So there are so many limiting factors, so many barriers. When you look at the benefits of being able to come out, have a community, go into the ocean, be in nature, have a warm, nutritious meal, have that physical activity, potentially be seen to by a physio, an OT, or a biokineticist, have your equipment looked at, the care and consideration and love and kindness. That is the whole, that is the blanket of surf therapy.
Mm. I think what really sent that message home for me was the fact that you can actually disconnect for that little while that you're in the water. So, no emails, no WhatsApp, no calls, no phone. I mean, if you go to a park for a walk, you can still take your phone with you and it can still, intrude on that me time if you might be wearing headphones or something, but you can't do that in the water. And I think that's, for me at least, the most appealing part. And I think that sort of uh, opportunity to disconnect should be one that shouldn't be exclusive. It should be something many people should be able to access as and when they need to do so. So we'll talk about that and your experiences with surf therapy right after this break.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Water with purity, food with love. Zakat makes it possible to establish the things that matter. It sets the foundation right for the family around the dinner table, the mothers who carry the heavy load, the children who want to play. Zakat is not just money, it is the reason why so many across the world are smiling before they sleep. With Zakat, there is blessing. With Zakat, there is hope. Not just in their life, but ours too. Your Zakat helps us continue to serve with love, with hope, because with you, we can. Give your Zakat to Penny Appeal Australia today.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Africa. This Ramadan, join Africa Muslims Agency to provide meals of mercy in 23 nations across the world. Feed the fasting for 120 Rand per day, provide a grocery hamper for 1,800 Rand per month, and feed a community for 19,000 Rand per day. A single meal can turn hunger into hope from Gaza to South Africa to Malawi and beyond. Help AMA to set a table where there was none. 23 nations, one table, every meal a mercy.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust. You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are tuned into the afternoon beat on Salam Media. My guest this afternoon, Dr. Roxy Davis, founder of the Roxy Davis Foundation, speaking to us about surf therapy and its impact on South Africans. Dr. Davis, earlier before the break, we were discussing what surfing actually is and what we stand to benefit by taking up this kind of sport. But then we also, briefly touched on some of the challenges for people with disabilities when it comes to accessing this kind of sport, Dr. Davis.
I think the one thing that we had spoken about just before the break that was quite significant was, how can you be so disconnected yet so connected when you're in the ocean? And that is quite something, because you're disconnected from one type of world where the world forces you to be online or respond to your messages immediately or reply to emails. Yet you are so connected to our earth, to you, the ocean, you're grounded, you're in nature. So by disconnecting from that one world, you are still also so incredibly connected. And there's such magic and beauty in that. I think the one thing about what we've realized with this research as well is that there's a lot of fear and adrenaline that goes into participating in something that's different, something that's unknown, something that's potentially scary. So a lot of our research participants had never, one of the requirements actually was that you had never participated in any ocean-based sport before. You had to come in completely new, or not really expecting anything that you'd known. And most of our participants had never even been to the beach before, never touched the water, never been into the ocean. And one of the realizations was that through that fear, many had said they've realized that not all scary circumstances can lead to a negative outcome. Often in life, that feeling of adrenaline or anxiety or fear is because of something negative or bad that may happen. And one young girl had said, when I first was going to go in and I fell off the board, I might drown or nobody would save me. But then I realized I can float. I realized I could learn to swim. I realized that there were volunteers to look after me, or to help me. And then it became okay. And that framework of thinking then transferred to other areas of their lives. Maybe there were environments in home or at school or in their community that they stretch themselves a little further and a little further, maybe, not engaging so much to being more confident, more proactive, participating more in sport, which was noticed with and commented on by the teachers when we did their interviews. Family members, parents were saying, my child is more proactive at home. He's doing the dishes. He's, even washing his own underwear. So it was the ripple or most significant change was not just within that child, but it was seen further afield.
That sounds incredibly impactful, and I'm sure it must feel quite great to be in that sort of position, to be able to impact lives in that manner. But how do we make surfing accessible to all?
I think the one thing is that we need to let more people know that surf therapy is available. I mean, right now I can only speak for our area, the Western Cape, but I do know that there are other networks. For example, in Durban, there's a similar organization called Made for More, and we work really well together. They're actually currently going to host our South African Parasurfing Championships next month, which we're going to be traveling from Cape Town to. And there is a network and there is a community that offer this ocean-based therapy or surf therapy for persons with disabilities, and there is no charge. So it's actually getting that message out there to say, we are here to serve. We do have space available. We want to help, and it's getting in touch with us.
When we're speaking specifically about individuals with disabilities, what was the toughest barrier that you faced in adapting surfing for these kids?
I think the toughest thing for us actually has been getting them to the beach. That's the one thing. The others, as they come about, we face the challenges head on. So when we first, for example, had got all our wetsuits, we got a lot of wetsuits donated, we purchased some, we realized that different disabilities require different adaptations to the wetsuits. So for some who are returning surfers or frequent surfers, getting a customized suit was something that we needed to invest in. We have one young chap, he is a quadruple amputee, and he was walking on his stumps all the way from where our trailers parked in the car park, to the beach and back, and he was wearing through the base of his knee pads, of his wetsuits. So we had to collaborate. And I think it's situation by situation. But once we get to the beach, and we have the most amazing director on our foundation, her name is Lisa Lucani. She is a pediatric neurodevelopmental physiotherapist. We call her MacGyver because we just love her solution-driven planning. And if you say barrier, she'll say solution. And that's how we take it. It's situation by situation. And we have, for example, our first investment was a beach wheelchair, one of those big water wheel amphibious wheelchairs. And when we first opened, we got some funding from Wavescape, and we purchased this wheelchair. It was about 70,000 Rand. It was really expensive. And we only have one of them, and we still have one. But this year, 5 years later, we got somebody else, because it has been a barrier to get people from the beach to the water. We got another organization, the MAID Foundation. They have committed to, for example, a beach wheelchair, a second one, so we can actually host more participants and deliver more surf therapy sessions. So I'd say as we go, we tackle those barriers head on. And we truly believe that as a community and as a country, we need to find the solutions, because saying I can't is not the solution.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you share some of those stories with us, because it helps us to really understand that this is not just about showing up and going to surf. It's about much more than that, and actually changing lives in the process. What's one surprise you encountered when dealing with these individuals?
I would say, I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but the grit and tenacity. I mean, people, we all go through so much in our own lives, and the showing up, the commitment, and it's still like when I go down, when we deliver surf therapy sessions, we've got one chap whose prosthetic legs, he removes obviously his prosthetic legs in the jeans with the tackies, and they just kind of sort of sit alongside the trailer with all the other equipment. And every time I walk past, they're like, there are a pair of legs in my trailer. And it just brings it back to reality of, we're all here and we all look different, but in our hearts, we're all really the same, and we're here for the same reason.
Earlier on, you hinted at, solutions, looking for solutions. How do you think surf therapy could fit into South Africa's broader challenges with healthcare, for example, and rehab access?
Well, we definitely have a shortage, as you know, in the healthcare sector in general. I mean, the lack of, and it's just the pure need for rehabilitation services and just basic services for persons with disabilities. And I think that's definitely an area that we've noticed over the last 3 years, a space that we can fill a gap. Having access to practitioners, having access to these volunteers, understanding, having a deeper understanding of what the challenges are, so we can unlock the doors that maybe are needed, and having just a number of people that can come together to problem solve. I think we definitely can take a lot of steps closer, and if we can work together with the public sector, the private sector, we already are seeing prescribing. Like in the UK, they use the term social prescribing, where you can actually, a doctor can prescribe surf therapy to somebody to attend as a benefit, and it's part of their medical program. Unofficially or informally in South Africa, we already see that happening. We've got individuals or doctors from hospitals, from care facilities, and various different homes who are prescribing it. So they're phoning us up and saying, we recommend that this person come and participate. We feel that there's a benefit for health promotion, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, whether they are terminally ill, whether it's a degenerative disease. We're seeing that more and more. So if we could work closer in collaboration with the different sectors, I think we could work together and work smarter to support, or at least for us to fill a gap where we can definitely see that there is a need and we can help.
I think that itself opens up a whole other conversation on its own. I mean, how do you integrate surf therapy with the more mainstream forms of therapy and healthcare? But we are running out of time. We've got a few moments left. Uh, any funny wipeout moments, should I say, from the sessions that became something quite etched in your memory?
If you don't mind, I'm going to actually just, it wouldn't be a wipe up moment. It's actually a hero moment, if that's okay. We
Sure.
had one young participant in the research who, after his first session, told me that in the Paralympics, the waves are a lot bigger than in Muizenberg, and one day he's going to surf in the Olympics. And I was like, gee, that's a great goal to have. And I was really, motivating him and really thinking it's a great thing to do. And he started competing. He won South African national champs. He is a quadruple amputee. 18 months after he started surfing, he represented South Africa on the global stage at the 2022 World Parasurfing Championships. He came 17th in the world. Our country, South Africa, placed fifth out of 28 countries competing. And it was just a moment in time that's just like etched in my memory to say he dreamed big and he believed in himself, because he believed, if I can do this, if I can stand up on a surfboard with no arms and no legs, I can be a Paralympic surfer. And he went on to that World Championships and, did South Africa so proud. And that's a moment that's etched in my mind forever.
That's absolutely wonderful. What's your hope for the future of surf therapy? And what would you say to parents considering this for their child?
I think for us, we're building on our other pillars in our surf therapy program. So we were including training, education, mentorship. And I think it's a community that we come together. We don't have the solutions all the time, but please come and join our family. We're down at Muizenberg, whether it's a volunteer place or, join surfing. We invite you, we welcome you, and please join our family.
How do people get in touch with you?
You can reach us on our website, roxydavisfoundation.org. And there is an event schedule that's there. There's a news category. You can keep up to date with what we're doing. We run various courses for both participants and our volunteers, as well as various surf therapy sessions.
Well, at least for now, I know that the next time I come down to Cape Town, I have a reason to come to Muizenberg. Obviously, it's going to be quite fun. I've heard about what you're doing, but I want to see what's actually going on here, and I'm sure it would be quite fun to participate. But Dr. Roxy Davis, thank you so much for your time on Salam Media.
Thank you very much.
That was Dr. Roxy Davis, the founder of the Roxy Davis Foundation, speaking to us about surf therapy. And I don't think this is the kind of therapy you hear about quite often when we speak about therapy. We're always hearing about, sitting in a psychologist's office and then you getting counseled or yeah, but this is truly fascinating. And as Dr. Davis, I think what really stood out for me in this conversation was how some of the benefits that you gain from surf therapy actually play out in other aspects of your life, and you wouldn't necessarily see this direct link, but there definitely is a link. Where she mentioned specifically about parents noting quite positive results where they're like, okay, the children are now doing stuff at home, which they usually wouldn't. So certainly something I found quite interesting and thoroughly enjoyed discussing this afternoon. So yeah, if you missed any part of this conversation, you can find it on our various platforms, those being Facebook, YouTube, and X. We'll take a break now for Asr, and when we come back, I've got a pre-recorded lecture coming up. Please don't go away.